This time at Design Organs Club, we invited Prateek Gupta, product design manager at Flipkart. He gave a interactive session on how to get a job at Unicorn, where he break through step-by-step funnel of design hiring. And at the end, we also had a super interesting Q&A. I hope this video adds value for your career, for your job. And at Design Origins Club, we keep on doing these sessions. So if you want to watch more of them, I would recommend subscribing to our channel. And also we have some other videos here from the past session. Last week we did on building with AI. And in the coming weeks, we are doing more sessions around the whiteboarding exercise, Rive masterclass, and many more. Okay, I hope you enjoy this.
Uh, I'm happy to be here and hope this session will be insightful for all of you. So, what we're going to do go today is a brief, let's say I'll start with my introduction. Then next thing we'll talk about is what unicorn look for in designers, currently what the trends are going on. And I think again, the hiring season is going to open soon. I think next few months we'll see more and more posting on LinkedIn and everywhere. So I think this might help you guys to understand how you should tweak your portfolios or your resumes and everything, right? Then we'll talk about the hiring funnel, the other side of the story. Of course, you guys understand and go through the process of being an interviewee, but I'm going to tell you more about how things happen on the other side. I'm not sure how many of you are hiring managers right now, but this is more about how the rec is created, what goes behind it, how the process look like and everything, right? So next, I think we'll talk about how to, as a candidate, how can you stand out, right? There are tons and tons of people. I think I was talking to Shivam a few days back, where I was saying that for one job post within 10, 12 hours, we receive, let's say, hundreds of resumes, right? So how basically you can stand out. And the last slide will be about the takeaways. Cool. Yeah. Hi. My name is Prateek. I've been working for around 14 years now, and I'm currently a product design manager at Flipkart. I've been taking interviews from, I think, more than a decade now, being a part of multiple process, multiple rounds. I've taken in portfolio rounds, design thinking, and now recently I've also being a hiring manager. I take a lot of hiring manager round as well, right? And not just for my team, I hire for other teams as well. That's how the company and that's how like bigger companies work, right? So there's a panel, and then there are different rounds. Different people take different rounds, right? And I think roughly, I think I would have taken more than 13 and been a part of more than 300 interviews now. So yeah, I've been there, done that, right? So yeah, cool. What unicorn looks for a designer, looks for in a designer when it comes for hiring, right? The first thing is depend on what level a company is hiring, right? The hiring level starts from intern to a product designer one, two, three, lead designer, everything, right? Depending on that, a lot of things changes, right? But usually nowadays, unicorns have moved more from being as a specialist. They don't look for a person who is specialist, but what we call nowadays is a T-shaped skill set, which says that you have design expertise, you are good at design, you are good at craft. That's your core thing, but you are also have different and other skills as well, right? You are good at cross collaboration. You understand how business work, you understand how the domain works, have been in domain, right? So that's what a T-shaped skill set work. That also tell a lot about a person, about that you are already great at a core competency, which is your craft skill, but you are eager to learn more about other things as well, right? So that's where your ability to collaborate with cross-functional team, understand how the tech constraint works and everything, right? Nowadays, we are not just focusing on say just on the craft and the visual design sense. We also look at someone who can actually understand the business matrix, right? Because in the end, design doesn't work in silos, right? Design without a business impact, without understanding the tech feasibility and everything, like just a design stays in Figma, right? It won't go out, it won't get released, the feature won't get launched, and might not make an impact, right? So we look at designers who have good business and product thinking, understand how product work, because that also helps in prioritizing a lot of things, right? Prioritizing your feature first versus other features that you're working on. That also makes you question that why certain thing that you're working on makes more sense than, let's say, other thing which the company has deprioritized, right? So that's what. The third thing that we look for is, again, the speed and adaptability, depending again on what side of business you are joining, right? So like even there are few enterprise tools. A lot of I was reading through the comments, right? A lot of you work at SaaS companies. So enterprise tools, SaaS companies require a lot of domain knowledge, domain understanding, right? When you join any new company, we look for people who understand, who picks up domain quickly, right? Understand how, like, a lot of places, a lot of feature get deprioritized, new features keep on prioritizing. That's very common in most of the company. Doesn't matter how good planning is done, but that keeps happening everywhere, right? So how good you are able to adapt to such kind of situation. These things are also looked at, and these things we judge and we evaluate a candidate during the different design rounds as well, right? Last is the ownership and autonomy. Designers, how well they are good at decision makers, how not just executor, but take those decisions as well, right? To understand how they can own a problem, how you can get attached to a problem and not to a solution, right? These things are also important for to be as a quality in a designer, right? So these all things we look at and we evaluate during our interview process. That's how the basic hiring funnel look like. So basically, we start with sourcing and outreach, then we move to portfolio screening, then is where the interview and your assessment starts, and the last one is debriefing, right? So that the four basic pillars or the funnel, that how the hiring funnel look like. Now, how things start, right? So the first thing is sourcing and outreach, right? The first thing, even before sourcing and outreach, what happens is there is a request or there's a requirement which is created, right? That's the job of a hiring manager. A hiring manager understand what kind of role they are looking for, or what kind of role. Is it a new role, is it a backfill, right? So basically you understand what kind of roles, and that's where a hiring manager starts creating a job description. Most of you see it when the job get posted, but that's when a job description start getting created. And this job description is very crucial. The kind of people you want to hire and everything, the kind of skill set you are looking at, we actually make it so detailed to help a recruiter and to even help the candidates who are applying for it. So that's even the before step which happens before sourcing and outreach. The next thing is sourcing and outreach. So what happens is then this request goes to the talent acquisition or a talent partner who help hiring managers look for the right candidate. And that's where the sourcing and outreach happen. At this point, what happens is the job post goes online. We post it on LinkedIn. We post it through our personal, through companies account. And that's where we start accepting all the requests from different candidates, right? Their resumes start flowing in. And this is the first round of filtering that a recruiter does. So what will happen is you start seeing a lot of recruiters through LinkedIn, through WhatsApp, or let's say through call. They start approaching you. They start talking to these the candidates, right? And after a round of filtering, right? Let's say you look for 3 to 5 years of experience, but still there are people who are like fresher than it, but a lot of people keep on applying, right, on the jobs. So, but this is where the first round of filtering happens, which a recruiter does. And they basically filter out based on the job description that we have defined. That, let's say, for example, we are looking for people who have experience in enterprise applications, right? So they will look for people who have prior experience in enterprise design, and then they shortlist for us. The next thing what they do is they start calling them, and they want to understand your current journey, what you have been through, and basic questions, right? Your notice period. Sometimes they also talk about the salary range and everything, right? A point to understand here is ask recruiter. So most of the time, the conversation happens from one end, right? The recruiter keeps on telling about you and you just saying and understanding, right? But that's where you should understand that treat recruiters as your friends, right? Their job is to be transparent with you. So you should ask as many as question as they ask you, right? Understand about the company, understand more about how the hierarchy works in that company, what is the culture in that company, whom you are going to report, what is your expectation in case you have in your mind, right? But during this phone screening, understand everything about the job. right? You don't want to end up moving forward in, let's say, in the process, not knowing these basic things, right? So understand this, ask as many as question you want, understand the process because different companies have different process of interviewing, right? So this is the time where you can actually ask recruiter as many as question you are. Understand the mission, understand the vision of the team, the company and everything, right? So ask as many as questions you have. If you are okay and if you're comfortable in sharing the salary range, first is you tell them that what is your expectations and everything. They'll ask you what is your current CTC and everything. If you have something in mind, if you have a band, do share out that also. Don't worry that I don't know how things might go and everything. But this is a place where you can actually share everything with your recruiter, right? Next, once the first phase is done, that's where you move to the next one, which is a portfolio screening. What happened in portfolio screening is now when the recruiter, let's say, have shortlisted you and everything, they send all these things to us. They send all these uh, different resumes, the portfolio links. Sometimes it's online, sometimes they have PDFs and everything. They share it to us, and that's where the second round of filtering happens. That's a hiring manager goes through the work and everything. And basically, we look at what kind of skill set we are looking at and does the candidate fits to that role or not, right? We also get a lot of feedback from the recruiter as well. So understand and do your first filtering and the first conversation with your recruiter nicely, right? But that's where the second thing happens. Do try to stand out from the crowd, right? You should, that's where I feel you should work a lot on your portfolio, right? Not just on visual. Of course, visual is very important. Craft is very important. That should be a core. But that's where a portfolio plays a very important role in the whole process, right? To get shortlisted here. Just to empathize with us, imagine we get hundreds of portfolios. And from those hundred of portfolio, when we see a lot of things, a lot of time maybe a tip for you guys as well. We see a lot of time the similar kind of formats. Everyone follows similar kind of thing, the personas, everything, pain points, and everything. Try to stand out here, right? Try to do things little different, which actually makes a mark in a hiring manager. When they are looking at so many similar things, maybe that's the way you can stand out, right? Do something different. We'll talk about it more. I think I would be happy to tell you more ideas about how you can stand out, but that's becomes an important part here, right? The third, and during this phase, I would like to also share a few things, which is we get a lot of messages on LinkedIn, right? And I agree, right? Like that's an important part to get noticed advert as well. But uh, imagine getting hundreds of messages for one job post. Really becomes sometimes difficult to answer everyone and go through everyone, right? So a tip here can be don't just make a relation or don't just message someone for a job post, but build some kind of relation there, right? Talk to those people other than your job post. Talk to those people other than just about that, telling them that can you refer to me to this link or can you refer me in your company, right? So try to make that mark, right? This can also be a differentiator. So do that thing, right? Try to build more connect, try to attend networking events, right? I remember one person really well. There was a job posting which happened, and that person started pinging me about, can you refer me to that job post, right? And at first, I think I missed it for a few days. I didn't notice it. Post that, I started getting the same message again and again, again and again. And this time it was more of a like a warning that telling me that you are not referring me and this is being a bad on your part. You're going to lose a very nice candidate and all those kind of things. So please don't do that. There are better ways of approaching a person and asking for the referral. So yeah, that's one thing. Cool. And I think the next phase is interview and assessment. I think from here, different companies have different ways, different process of taking the interview round, right? But the standard which usually follows everywhere is one is the portfolio round, which happens. The second one is either a design thinking round, and mostly for freshers, we do a case study. We give them a take home assignment and ask them to get back with that case study, and we give them around like 5 to 6 days. Next to it is one-on-one round. This is based on your portfolio, based on the case study that you have presented. This is more about retrospective of your portfolio. A lot of questions will be asked that how did you do that? What was the most difficult part when you when, let's say, you were designing the experience and everything, right? So the third round, one-on-one round, is more about retrospections, right? And I think here the way you should also answer is a lot based on the situation. A person who is asking you the question don't have the context about what you go through, right? So that's where your storytelling, your contextual skills, how you set that context plays a very important and a crucial role, right? And the last one is the HM round. HM round is where basically a hiring manager talks to you, try to understand your skills, your experience, your domain expertise, right? Those are the basic question which goes here. And again, here the expectation is for you also to ask as many as question as you want. Try to understand the hiring manager whom you are going to report into, right? So that's how. And the last part is, let's say if you go through everything, most of the time, until it's a red flag from any of the panel, mostly everyone goes through all the round. The last one is a debriefing. What happens at debriefing is basically the whole panel comes together, and then basically we start talking about the candidate, right? This is done just to be and make more unbiased choices because we take multiple inputs from multiple people, right? And we take all the feedback, talk about it, and do the pros and cons, evaluate the candidate, and then make a decision, right? So that's how it happens, right? Uh, yeah, I think that's about it. But I think there are a lot of resources. Do read about how you should do design thinking, the whiteboarding challenge, right? Sometimes design thinking is also about existing app, and basically we take any app and we tell them to critic, right? What are the two things that you can improve here? How you can improve here, right? Again, I think something to note here, and maybe a tip for everyone again, is understand the problem statement. I think if you see generally, a lot of people, a lot of interviews that I've taken, a lot of people are good at ideation and they directly jump into the ideas and the solution the moment they listen to the problem statement, right? Avoid doing that. The first thing that we look at is, first a person should ask as many as questions they can, to understand the problem better, right? So spend a good amount of time. Let's say if you have around 1 hour, 30 minutes should be just understanding the problem and the context. That can also talk about users and everything. And there are a lot of articles, there are a lot of videos there uh, on YouTube. Go through them, uh, understand what things you should work on, what is your strength, what is your weakness, and how basically you can navigate a person through these design thinking round, right? Portfolio, again, I think try to stay away from this basic um uh, basic formats which are there online. If you are a fresher and don't have any work experience, uh, see how you can actually build a good story out of any project that you have done, right? Even if it's a fictitious project, don't just follow things for sake, right? That I have made persona, then I have made user flows and everything. You should understand it's okay if there's no persona, it's okay if there's no user flow and everything, but try to build a good story, have a rational for each and every step that you're doing there, right? uh, One-on-one rounds, I think the tip here is, yeah, I think you can follow some frameworks are there. There's a star framework and everything, which actually tells the way you should narrate a story, right? When you're telling a situation, how you can actually talk about the situation, give us some context to the person who is interviewing you, right? And how you can frame that whole story better way. And HM round is be transparent. Yeah, I think that's the tip there. How you can stand out as a candidate is, I think we covered a lot of things during my previous slides, right? But the main thing, I think, whatever things I've listed here or I've written down things, right? You should be good at this, no doubt, right? The craft skill, domain knowledge, ownership, storyteller, leadership, right? Leadership, even not just leadership about leading people, but you as a person, how you lead your different team, right? How influential you are, how proactive you are, and how open you are for the feedback. But other than this, the few things how you can stand out from others is, one is, as I told you, right? LinkedIn, right? Build relations. Don't just spam people. Don't just spam your hiring managers. No one will look at hundreds of messages at once, right? So build some relation. How, when I say build some relation, is start commenting on their, let's say, feed, on their post that they are doing, right? What are your views for let's say whatever topic the discussion is going on, right? These all things get noticed. These all things create that your name in that hiring manager's list, right? It will help you get there. So do that. Go to events, attend some events where you can get a chance to network with people. And when you network with people, be prepared. When I say be prepared, is like what you're going to talk about, right? Again, let's say if you get 5 minutes, let's say how we talk about that pitch in a lift, you have 5 minutes, how you can actually pitch yourself, right? What things you should highlight there. Understand those things. So whenever you meet anyone on any design event, any design conferences, that 5 minutes should leave a mark. And tomorrow, let's say when you talk to them over LinkedIn or through email or whatever it is, the person should remember that this was the context or this was the thing that we talked there or wherever it is, right? So do that. Third thing is, I've seen a lot of people are doing events. Like this is one of the events, doing talks, are there mentoring. So do attend their mentoring session, talk to them. And again, don't talk to them about is there an open position? Talk to them about other things, right? Build that relationship with them, network better, right? And the last thing is, of course, the work that you do, how you present your work from everything, right? Right from the title that you put it on your LinkedIn to the blogs that you are writing to your portfolio and everything, right? So try to look for these small things and work on these things, right? So whenever anyone who is coming to your portfolio or let's say on your LinkedIn, they should understand the kind of work you're doing and what you will get onto the table. Let's say if you get hired, what things you'll get to the company, right? So do that. These are small things, but they play a very big role in standing out, right? At last, like what I'm telling is be little different, try to do different things because that's where you can actually break that monotony or you can break that the blindness that a hiring manager gets when they see 10 portfolios and every portfolio follow the same thing, right? It's everything. Most of the people nowadays are building Framer, right? Framer websites. Most of them have similar patterns. So see where you can actually create a different experience for the hiring manager, right? And yeah, I think that's all. I think what I had for this session. I'll be happy to take more questions and maybe help you answer your questions. But few takeaways, I think one is unicorns are looking beyond skills. Well, what I mentioned, right? The T shape, the skill set that we look for. You should be good at craft. You should be good at, let's say, motion or whatever you are doing, but you should be aware about the other things as well, which goes around the domain, right? Which will actually bring something to the team, which will add something, a great experience to the team as well, right? And uh, the whole process goes through different companies can have different process. Everyone goes through a different process, but every time you have or done with one kind of interview, try to retrospect what went well and what didn't go well. You take feedback from whoever is interviewing you, but try to understand and improve for your next or get ready for your next round, right? So always do that. Don't just leave an interview. Okay, the interview is done and the part is done. Do retrospect on your interview, how things went, what I did do, what things went well, things I should improve, this I should stop doing, all those kind of things, right? uh, yeah, and I think first interview will never be a good experience. Of course, it takes some time to understand how things work and how everything, and you'll get more and more confident as you move forward, right? And the last one is, I think, stand out, try to be different. Whenever, let's say, you get a chance to interview, tell a compelling story, or whenever you are meeting anyone, tell them a story that they remember throughout their life, right? Or not throughout their life, but at least for a few years, right? That's where you can stand out. That's how you can be different, right? And talk more about business, talk more about other things that excites you, how you are working on them, how you're improving them. Right? So yeah, that should be all from my end. I'm open for questions now.
Hi Prateek, I'm Arya. I wanted to ask you some.
Hi. Hi, Pratik. Thank you for explaining all these things in details. One of the last things which you mentioned, ki now many people are making their websites in Framer and all. So let's say, like for example, I have worked in a company for few years, and there are many things which are under NDA, and I cannot put that in the website. So one solution which many people say ki make it into a Figma, matlab create a Figma file and you share the link. Maybe you can create a password for that or something. So what do you think is a good approach for people who have some NDAs and they cannot put everything in on public domain?
Understood, Sid. I think I'll try to be little crisp here. And I think in case if you guys still have some question, approach me over Twitter or LinkedIn. But yeah, we respect people who actually do that, right? If it's an NDA, like it creates a very good impression, your first impression that you're actually acknowledging NDA and not throwing anything for a job, right? And the same thing can happen with us also tomorrow. Let's say I'm working at an organization. We do work on few things which are NDAs or let's say are confidential, and we should not share it and we should not entertain it. So one thing is that that's a very good approach where you can actually keep a unique link. And let's say once you share that link or a portfolio privately to that whoever you are sharing, post that you should also revoke their access once that process is done, I think. But that works well. Create a Figma file and put whatever things that you think is confidential there and password protected.
And one more question I have. So let's say sometimes people gets hired. Let's say if I'm a fresher and I got hired for a salary which is lower than the market standard, and now I'm thinking of switching, and many companies ask for the current CTC and their expected CTC. So
Mm.
there is a trend that like people say you cannot get more than 30% or 40% like that. But if I feel my current CTC is way below than the market standard and the expected one is much higher than the current, so can I not say my current CTC or do the HRs actually force me to how to avoid that like in a polite way?
You could do both, Sid. One thing is you can actually tell your secretly, but you can also tell that I believe that this is what going on currently in the market. These are the things, and this is what I'm expecting. So one way is this. Second way, a lot of people say that, okay, I don't want to disclose my current salary, but also ask not the hiring manager, the recruiter, that what is the budget for this position. So that can also help, right? So you can do that as well. You can ask the recruiter that what budget you are looking at, and yeah, and then that's where.
This is one good question. So Prateek, how to show the impact of real world when we don't have the actual data?
What I'm getting from this question is, let's say if you have done a fictitious project, how do you show that impact of that?
Yeah, is it Prashant? That's what you're asking?
I worked on a project and there is impact, but I don't know the actual numbers ki this many percentage growth happened. So in resume and like while explaining, how should I explain this much impact happened? So yeah, that's the question.
No, Prashant. So I think that's wrong. I think you should understand those metrics as well, right? So let's say if the feature went ahead and it's live now, do talk to your product managers, do talk to your engineers and understand those impact metrics, right? That's what. And I think one good point here, I think, Prashant, that's how you should also modify your resumes as well, right? On resumes also, you should put some kind of impact numbers that, let's say, for example, I've worked with, let's say, for a gaming startup and it was launched to so many people and that was the adoption or something, or maybe I've increased the daily active user or whatever it is, right? So that's what I'm being telling about, right? You should be good at craft skill but understand the business matrix as well.
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Okay. And this one question, there's a person who's a data engineer right now and would like to switch to product design engineering, which is also getting traction these days. Design engineering designers who can do code using AI. So he has launched 2 apps on the Play Store and have 1,000+ monthly active users. Wow. I would like to contribute to code as well as design. How can I switch? And is the design engineering roles on the rise? So Pratik, this question is about the design engineer role. Have you noticed that recently in your hiring in general?
I think one thing that we are doing now is a lot of companies that I've seen is actually hiring people for experience, right? There are experienced PM who actually works on experience. And then there are experienced engineers also who are actually the UI engineers, but they're termed as experienced engineers who actually work on everything which goes in delivering that experience that a designer have designed, right? Which talks about micro animation, the transitions and everything. So those kind of job roles are getting there. I think a lot of people have moved away from just building something and shipping them, but they actually want to deliver a good experience. So yeah, I think that's a good way to transition it, and I'm guessing that's a way forward as well. Most of the because of the AI and everything, a lot of people have started exploring how to code with AI, how to give that better experience and everything. So yeah, according to me, I think that's a good way and good way to transition as well.
Okay, makes sense. One question also interesting. So for people who has majority of experience in B2B space, Sandeep, can you please unmute yourself? Yes, mute it. So yeah, so there are people who have majority of the experience in B2B space. So will this be an advantage if they wish to apply to companies like Flipkart, Swiggy, etc., who work in B2C space? So how should the approach be for that, for the interview process in that scenario?
Most of the companies, what you're talking about, right? Like even Flipkart, Swiggy, and every company has a B2B and B2C both, right? The B2C can't survive without B2B apps, right? Because what even you see, let's say on any app, gets controlled by a lot of things, right? Flipkart is not just an app, right? There's a whole ecosystem that goes behind to deliver that product to you. Same goes with Swiggy, same goes with anything, right? There are rider apps, there is warehouse management apps and everything. So one thing is that, but let's say for specifically if you're looking to get hired on a B2C side, let's say for example, Swiggy, right? First is understand their job description. If they're looking at something which is very heavy on craft skills, very heavy on the interaction, they focus only on mobile. I think your portfolio and the story should talk about this. Of course, the past thing can be about that I've worked in B2B, but again, the portfolio should emphasize on a lot of your experiments, your transitions and everything, whatever that job description is requiring for. So start showcasing those skills as well, and then is where you can get a chance to at least get into interview.
So Pratik, this was my question. Another take on this is that if I want to actually say that I want to get into Flipkart, Swiggy, Zomato, but majorly my experience was on B2B side. So instead of
True.
I just want to get into unicorn companies, but I don't want to be in the B2C vertical of that company. I want to be in the B2B vertical. So while interviewing, how can I mold my interview in that way that I actually just want to get into the company, but I want to contribute on the B2B vertical. Is that the right approach? If I, come up like this in the interview that I want to be a part of Flipkart, but given my experiences on B2B side, I would like to contribute more on the B2B side of Flipkart rather than going for B2C side, because I'm more interested in joining the organization rather than joining B2C vertical of that organization.
Yeah, Danu, that's completely fine. I think that's what happened with me also, right? In past 14 years, I've been into enterprise design. That's B2B, the SaaS and everything. And that's how like the opportunity keeps coming in, right? So whenever, let's say, Flipkart enterprise team or whoever is hiring, do apply to those. And that's where I mentioned, right? When the initial that screening happens, we do put that filter that we need people who have B2B experience. But again, you have to wait for the right opportunity and right place. Hire someone for one position. Let's say if the position was in B2C, and once you get hired, you move to B2B. That cannot happen, right? Because the whole funding, the way that rec is funded and everything, from which pod, from which business unit, we cannot move it that much, right? So wait for the right opportunity within, let's say, any unicorn for that B2B vertical, and then maybe apply for those specifically.
Understood. Yeah. Thank you.
Right. So there's one question, like as you mentioned that when you post a job application, you get thousands of applications for sure. Nivedita asked that does the LinkedIn Easy Apply system work? How important is it to optimize your resume for ATS? And also top on that, I'm curious that like let's say you did a job posting. Do you have any good practices that people can follow to reach out? Because I'm sure you would also get flooded with the DMs. People sometimes sending or also WhatsApp, finding number, and these are not I think good practices. So feel free to share the good practices that really helps.
I think good practice, what I said now, Shivam, I think which works well, and it had worked for me also, is build your network, right? Build that relationship with people. That's the best thing, right? That's where you can stand out as well. Talk to people not just about like I need a job, but about different things. What are they thinking about the postings, that whatever thing they post on LinkedIn and everywhere, right? Let's say they are on Medium as well, right? So do that. That get recognized. And yes, I think once a job get posted, like almost everyone who shares it gets multiple DMs, and it becomes very difficult to go through each and every DM. So that happens, right? Those DMs get easily unnoticed as well sometimes. The main thing that we do here and we rely on is our HR partners or the talent partners. These are the people who actually. So first thing is don't just DM. One is either get a referral. If you know someone in that company, tell them to put your resume into a portal, whatever the internal portal that they have, right? Because talent partners have access to that portal. Second thing is you can approach to these TAs, the talent partners, and then tell them that whatever you are looking for, this is what the job description, and according to me, that I have this experience and I can be a good fit there as well, right? To talk to those talent partners who can actually or who are actually hiring for or who have posted that job, right? One thing is do that, get your resume referred, or if you don't have anyone, do at least apply through their portal. And that's where your resume should be created in such way that actually it picks up a lot of these items from your resume, right? The product should basically, because that's how nowadays, whenever we use any of these portal, we put these filters. And if your resume is not like, it cannot be read through these products, it becomes difficult and sometimes it doesn't fall into that filters, right? So that's where I think that was also one of the question, right? It should be friendly. It should be readable through these, the crawler, through AI and all these things. Most of the recruiting tools now have AI, which actually tells you that these are the 5 top resumes which actually fit to your job description as well.
Right, right. Makes sense. One question also Anshika asked, could you share insights on the current market expectation for hiring mid to senior level designers? How does the transition from senior to lead typically unfold? And what role does having a mentor play in this journey? Also, with AI becoming more prominent, how do you see its impact on the hiring landscape for designers? If it is too big, I can again repeat. Let me know.
Yeah, sure. I'll start answering maybe the first few things. In case if I missed something, do let me know. But the first thing is, I think, first thing was if you're transitioning from a senior to a lead, or let's say whenever you are coming to a new company, what are the expectation was the first one. Anchika, is it?
Yeah, Anshika, right?
Yeah. So Anchika, I think if I'll say most of the companies have different competency set, right? And depending on for which position you're hiring for, sometimes that competency, I've never seen it change drastically, but the weightage of these competency changes, right? For example, for a junior position, right? Leadership might be just about like 5% or 10%, but for a senior, it might hold a more weightage, right? 40%, for example, right? Craft skill, and as you grow, right? As you grow, and if you want to be an IC, if you want to be a people manager, right? That also depends on a lot of things and different companies. But so what I'm saying is basic, the craft skill, the domain knowledge, your leadership, influencing your stakeholder, right? So these all things remains equal. These competency remains same for each different level. Only the weightage keeps on changing, right? When you become a senior, you are more expected to lead the conversation, to come up with the design initiative, be a owner of, let's say, one product. But let's say if you become a lead, maybe you are leading and mentoring few people, plus you are actually taking care of whole business unit, and there can be multiple products. So that depends on company to company. Bigger companies, they usually hire multiple people for one product and you are owner of, let's say, one feature. So that's how it happens. Maybe the span or your influencing that circle might increase. You might be talking to a lot of business stakeholders, different stakeholders, right? And the weightage might change for different skills, but most of the competency remains same.
Right.
And I think the second one was how AI is changing the landscape.
Yeah, that's right.
So, Anchika, to be frank, I have not seen till now, being a hiring manager, change anything. I think post-COVID, eventually the hiring went like there was a higher rise in the hiring, and a lot of companies hired a lot of people, and then everything, right? How things happened. People started letting people go and they started firing, and everything happened. Then there was a dip, right?
Yeah.
Now I think things have become normal. Things are becoming more stable now, and I think there will be increase of hiring designers. I've not seen AI getting impacted on design so much. Milab, I've heard about it's impacting some of the engineers, but not designers, is what I've heard. People, I think what's going around, what I've heard about is people are saying that you should know how to design through AI, But frankly, in the companies, like bigger companies, a lot of time we work on confidential projects where even these AI are not enabled, right? So you still have to work on. So yeah, I personally till now, I haven't seen any impact on that. I go through a lot of videos, but in the process and everything, I haven't seen. We still hire designers with good problem solving skills, with good influencing skills, good storytelling skills. I haven't seen anywhere where AI is getting impacted.
In startup culture, like we are building bots and agents for solving smaller problems, let's say UX writing, copywriting, etc.
True.
We have set our own tone and language, and now we have our own agent, and we don't need a UX writer for that, right? And we can train it accordingly, what we need. Nobody has to specifically spend time on that. So such things are getting resolved, and like something that I can do if I'm a mid senior level designer, and at the same time a junior designer who is curious enough, they can also do it. So like how this relationship is evolving over the time between the junior and the seniors, because if anyone is curious, I guess they can par that level and they can surpass them. So with AI, like it is an enabler. So how that whole paradigm is like sort of changing.
True, Anshika, but again, I think that's where experience comes in, right? That's where a lot of times we are hiring for, let's say, 6 years of experience, and people with 3 years of experience apply for that job and they say that, be confident, I can do it, right? But that's where experience comes in, right? Because being in this whole, like, let's say, being a product designer for past 6 years, 14 years, right? Gives you that edge of solving that problems, right? I'm not talking about designing something or building that, but you can actually have experience of solving few things or few issues that people come up with, right? And it's not just always about, I mean, like, yes, when we are talking about design, we talk about design, but let's say even if you are building, or let's say the UI through AI, right? That's not all right, because that's maybe that design is your core skill, right? But to make it live, right, you have to talk to multiple people. You have to influence those people. Those are all your soft skills. AI cannot skip that.
Correct.
Right? And AI can never do that, right? How do you storytell? How do you sell it to your business partner, to your product, to your engineering? Like these things, AI can never do it. That's where, like, all the videos that I see online, of course, you should start getting an understanding about the domain. Like back when like mobiles came in, computer came in, we all adapted to such technologies, right? Because I started designing when mobile was not that common, right? And we used to have that Nokia phones. And then smartphone came, became accessible. So we adapted to it, right? We moved and we try to understand those design. That's what will happen with AI also. You should understand, but use it more as a, like, maybe your allies. Maybe, let's say what example you took, right? Maybe you need a copy for something, do that, take that copy, but to tweak that copy to solve that copy is making sense to your end users. If you are doing it for tier 2, tier 3s and all these things, that smartness has to come from an individual and experience.
Understood.
Right?
Yeah. I like
Right.
that.
Yeah. Also, I'm curious, Prateek, are you also personally using any AI tools? Have you tried, not yet?
In office, it's blocked. We
No.
do work. Yeah. So what happens is, I'll tell you, we do use some AI, but through compliance and everything, most of the things are blocked. We do use Gemini, I think, for till some end, but again, restrictions are there.
You can't use Midjourney and other tools, right?
No. Again, because with AI, what happens is you are not just consuming the data, you are also training them, right? You're feeding your data as well, right? That's where most of the companies restrict these policies. When you work on these confidential projects, when you work something which is not live yet, you are feeding the AI tomorrow, let's say someone else, you don't want to train that AI for your work, right? So
Yeah.
that's where it gets restricted.
And also, I mean, like with the AI becoming the models getting so good, like every month and now we see this breakthrough innovations. Is Flipkart planning to have some AI implementation to, because it is certainly like Meta is using it for, like the mid-level engineers work, Salesforce and a lot of companies. So is Flipkart at least going to use for engineers, or any idea on that? Or there are legal?
There is some limitations which are there, but we do use, but not everywhere. Not how well it is evolving, where people are not sure about what data and everything and those things are happening, what data is getting fed into, right? Somewhere to increase efficiency, we are using those things, but not the way that we see everywhere online, right? That's why I think still, I think we see a lot of things, lot of development happening on AI part, but I'm not sure how well it is getting adopted across because uh, I've seen those videos, right, where you actually give a prompt and all the screens and everything, it starts building. You can actually code and everything through AI, uh, show that a screen, and then it gives you code about that. But yeah, I've not seen it in real time, right? Real life, how people are using it in different companies.
Right. Thank you for sharing that point of view, Prateek. Also, one question here by Tanuj, and also we have Abhineet here, Abhineet Tiwari here. He's a ex-design head at Gojek. So great to have you, Abhineet, in this call. And so Tanuj has asked, it's a good question. What makes the design interview of a unicorn company more difficult than other companies? For a developer, it can be more difficult coding questions. But what about a designer? How is that difficulty quantified? Great question.
Sham, can you repeat that?
Yeah.
What exactly you're looking for? I
So,
didn't get it. Sorry.
what makes the design interview of a unicorn company more difficult than other companies? For example, for a developer, it can be more difficult coding questions. But what about designer? How is the difficulty quantified?
I think the only difference that I see is, and I don't see even a difference now. I think most of the like even the small startups and companies, I think they are going through different processes. Everyone has started using multiple rounds of interviews to evaluate a candidate better. And usually the steps and everything which happens, which are same, I think, across, right?
Yeah.
You'll have portfolio round, design thinking, then there'll be one-on-ones and hiring manager round. So I haven't seen much difference there. I think difficult wise, I think it all depends on an individual confidence and the work. Uh, there might be few questions uh, which actually can challenge you in the
Mm.
thing that you have taken in past and everything. But I think it all goes with the confidence, right? The way, the knowledge that you have. Most of the thing, only difference that I've seen is a lot of companies might challenge you that why you have taken certain thing, this is wrong and everything.
Mm.
Bigger companies don't do that. Bigger companies actually ask you instances and more of situation-based questions where how you have taken certain decisions, right? Tell us a place where everyone was against your design decision and you still went ahead and implemented yours, right? So what were those challenges and everything? So I think that's the only difference that I've seen. Difficulty level wise, I think it depends on which level you are applying for and the confidence that you have, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, right. Makes sense. So one question by Vanshita. So I have worked on a product in our company, which is a startup. Okay, but the product never went live. We go through multiple iterations or changes every week or closer to it. As the product isn't live, there wouldn't be no metrics to show. So how do I tackle this problem?
Which is okay. Be transparent, telling that the product didn't go live, but do tell about the rationale why you mentioned, right? There are multiple iterations. What went through the iteration? Was it a hunch or a gut feeling of someone and you made a change? Or because of something that you discovered over the time or through research or something that you made you change your decisions or those iterations, right? Do talk about those things if you don't have matrix, right? Everything should have a rational. It cannot because I believed or product folks believed or business said it, so I changed it.
Makes sense. Okay, so next one. There are rarely positions open for a lead position, lead designers. For someone who just recently got laid off as a lead, many recruiters are seeing this as a negative mark. Anyway, where to really go look out for lead jobs?
I think things should become better now. Again, as I mentioned, right, during COVID, this happened where most of the companies overhired people, right? And now then everything happened and a lot of people were uh, uh, they were asked to leave as well. But I think now things have become stable and I think you should see more and more jobs. Again, I think it depends on company to company, right? If you are a lead, one thing is where you want to head, right? So look for those companies, right? Let's say if you still want to be an IC, look for the companies who have senior IC role. Most of the companies usually, and I've seen that in India, mostly in Indian companies, after certain experience, you move towards a manager path, right?
Hmm.
So you move towards you doing people manager. So you'll see associate manager jobs. you will see manager jobs more, right? But I think that's changing now because a lot of companies have IC senior path as well. So you should see a lot of lead positions also. But my hunch is it should get better now. You should see better. And I think anyway, after March, April, I think that's how the cycle starts. So
Yep. And also one question is one thing that's sharing in the chat as we are talking about the job and all. So we are also hiring for a company called Super Studio. It's headed by the ex-design head at Fampe and Ola. They have clients including Flipkart and Swiggy, Super Studio. So I put in the job description in the chat. It's a LinkedIn post. If it's a fairly senior level job, 4 or 5 years of experience for a design generalist. So if you are a good fit, you can just put your portfolio in the comments, I would recommend, or just reach out to me over DM on this LinkedIn post. But just remember it will take some time as we already have so many applications. So just thought to put in here, it might be helpful and relevant to people here. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Great. So thank you. And so one question is here. Let me just go through quickly to pick out some common themes. And yes, it will be recorded. We'll share the recording afterward. And also, someone was asking that, is it the years of experience quite rigid? If you are looking for someone 4 or 5 years of experience, and if someone has maybe 2 years experience, but that person, he or she has a solid portfolio, good, proof of work. So will that be considered? Is it worth applying?
Shivam, and I think whoever asked, but yeah, good question. And I think that's where I would also like to say that it's not just about the craft skills and everything which matters, right? But of course, experience and everything also matters, but I'll tell you the other side of the story, right? There is something which is known as team balance, right? Let's say if within a company, there's a lead position, for example, which the current people who are there in that organization is let's say 8 years or 9 years of experience, and that much time it becomes take you to become a lead, right? A hiring manager cannot hire a person with 2 years of experience as a lead, right? Because that creates a disbalance in the whole team. So we have to be cautious about those things as well, right? I agree. Maybe at 2 years, you can actually do that much work and your work is equivalent to that lead. But that's what even the balance and the company equilibrium that we have to maintain, right? So, because tomorrow that might create some kind of issues between, let's say, the different hierarchy, the same people at lead and all those things, right? That might happen. So that's where it's not just about that if you're good at but have small and you're confident that you'll do it. There are a lot of things that goes behind the scene as well.
Right. And also one question that's been a recurring theme in the chat. So do you have any thoughts on the portfolio? Like people share portfolio in different format, PDF, personal website, Framer, Notion, or Behance. So is that effect also like when someone apply with that portfolio? So any thoughts on that, the portfolio platform and which serves the best?
I think I'll tell you my experience, Shivam. I think format doesn't affect that. When we get, I think, around 100 resumes or let's say 100 portfolios, and we give 5 minutes to each portfolio, make sure your portfolio have that snippet where in 5 minutes, if someone go through it, understand what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's all, I guess. But I don't see that a format being a challenge or something like this is a Framer versus PDF or anything, or even sometimes Figma, right? That's okay. Share anything that you have, but make sure that when you're giving that elevator pitch, whatever we call it, should define that in 5 minutes, what all things that you have done.
Right. Okay. And also one question by Ayush Puri, TUC for case study. Should it be based on insights or full details? Ayush,
Need some clarification.
Ayush,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
Hi, Prateek. My main question is that I want to really understand when you guys go through, you have a lot of people, you have to go through, you have to interview. When you go through a case study, you find what is suitable for the role, what you are looking for. So according to that, keeping that in mind, should the case study have insights for whatever the thing has been done? For example, if we have done some UX research, primary, secondary, such as heuristic, anything, any UX tool that has been used, it should be in very detail, like these were the pain points which were found and these were the solutions. or we should use the insights? So very crisp and short.
No, Ayush, let's say if we have moved from your general, let's say your whatever the about you page to your case study, then it has to be like that, at least interested in maybe your profile. So then your case study has to be end to end. Let the hiring manager read whatever part they want to read, or maybe they want to star mark and keep it for later. But put everything, whatever is there.
Follow up for that. When we make that, it jumps around 50 to 60 pages. It's too much detail.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
not 50, 60 pages.
Yeah.
Maximum. Yeah. Not that much, Ayush. I think, but at least each step, whatever things, wherever you feel, let's say you have done research, which is about 30 pages, then put a insight summary and maybe a link to that. This is the detailed research. Because of course we won't go through all those pages. So you can put a link there in interest like of time and everything. And if someone is really interested in understanding how you came up with those insights, then maybe they can go. But yeah, you can concise that in that.
Got that. Follow up to that. What regarding the interviews? This is for the screening part. For the interview, should we add the same flow, like the insights? Or
Thanks, Ayush, for this question. I think I forgot to say that when you have a portfolio round, right, guys, ensure you are done in 30 minutes. You want to keep some time for questions. You want to keep some times for the questions, the panel to ask question to you, and the last maybe 10 minutes if you have some question to ask them, right? So always prepare your case study or a portfolio which you can finish in 30 minutes with good storytelling. And then you put some buffer for questions and anything, right? Most of the time, what happens is it takes 1 hour to explain or to tell people that what you have been doing and about your portfolio, about your case study. And then you don't give them time to understand it or maybe cross question few of the things. That also might be wrong. So 30 minutes to 40 minutes, I use maximum. That's how you should finish your case study.
okay, just the last thing. Actually, right now I work as a HMI designer for White Verticals, working with Hero. I want to jump back to the digital section where I used to design apps and website. So would it be very difficult for me? People won't prefer me because I'm designing the TFT like Ola screens, similar to that screens for a bike, two-wheeler. So just wanna have a very quick your review on that, like your view. Would you love to hire a person who is designing a bike TFT and you will take him back to the spot? Or
Yeah, Yush, that's what I think that initial intro thing, right? See, I think teaching technical skills, right? Let's say whatever software that you're using, this again, I'm saying from my end, but whatever things you are using, let's say you were using some software to design it, and now you have to move to Figma. That's very easy, right? To those transitions. So I don't care about those technical skills, right? The only thing is that first 5 minutes or whatever the brief that you have should showcase how you are a good problem solver, right? How you can actually identify these problems and you can actually understand those business and you can adapt to the fast-paced environment, right? That's what it matters. And maybe if someone is looking for exactly in moving in digital, maybe you want to include some of the digital explorations or whatever you have done. That will be helpful. But again, depends on people to people. But yeah.
okay, perfect. Thanks. That was it. Thanks. Have a nice day, man. Bye bye.
Thank you, Ayush.
And also one question that we have discussed, moving from B2C to B2B and vice versa. But Sushmita asked how hard it is to switch from service-based company to a product-based company. What skills or mindset changes can help make the transition easier? Like every other JD asks for experience in product-based company.
Again, I think I'll go back on the same things. I think we talked about it, but I think now getting into unicorn is not just about portfolio or about design that you do, right? Even let's say if you're at service company, but the way you are presented, the way you understand, or your thought process is to solve a problem, to work collaboratively with cross-functional team, understand those business matrix. Craft is of course your strength, but you understand the other things as well, right? How the tech constraints have influenced your designs and everything, right? How well you can actually create multiple iteration to solve a problem and then picked up one approach which creates the maximum impact, right? So I think those are some of the skills. If you are able to tell that story to anyone, whoever is hiring, should consider you.
Right. Also, just one point. I mean, maybe it might be hard before, but maybe now, if you haven't worked on a product, then maybe just quickly build a product end to end, small product, because you can easily, mash up something using Claude and other things, and just And if you can just make it and get some traction, put it on a small iOS app. Honestly, I have seen people like building iOS app less than in a week with zero coding experience.
True.
You can get some active users, do some marketing, some sales. I think that can be also considered as a good product, impressive experience, right?
True. If you're solving some problem, you're solving at least, let's say, you build a API for some persona which actually gets all the data, for example, from all the market trends which are going on, right? Like the stock market and everything, and showing in one thing and how you are actually creating that impact for that user or solving their problem. Yes, it should.
Right. So, clubbing these two questions by Janvi and Mandira. So, how do I build problem solving skills? That's one question. Second insight, what are the key things that makes a case study good and stand out from the crowd?
Problem solving skills, I think you should work on lot of design thinking tools, design thinking workshop. That's what you should do, right? For example, how you can train a problem like identification phase, right? So every day, maybe take one problem statement and try to solve that problem statement. Spend 1 hour there, right? The first 30 minutes should be about understanding problem, what can be the constraints, what the current market trend is, how the market is doing right now, how the current solutions are, what are the pain points, right? So I think that to get that mindset is the first thing. That mindset will come with multiple practice, right? Every day, spend 1 hour, take one problem statement, solve it, and maybe like let's say if you have people around you, get it reviewed also, right? That will give you good feedback as well. That's one way. Second way is, I think at your current job, wherever you're working, don't directly jump onto, like, make it a habit of understanding any feature, any problem first. Don't directly jump onto Figma and start moving the buttons, start putting it in a UI, right? So get that into that kind of habit. Start documenting your design decisions and everything. Make those document, make everything where, let's say you have moved a button from A to B, what was certain things that went into behind doing that, right? That's how I think you can start questioning more, understanding more, like why certain decisions you are doing, right? End user ka, like that's where I think where we say that design is a subjective thing, we can move from subjective to being an objective and being some kind of like, because of certain XYZ reason, we made certain decisions, right? So you should always have rational behind it. Last is, I think, do more kind of workshops. Do more kind of problem solving workshop where, let's say, how we do Crazy 8, get a problem statement, 8 ways to solve it. Not through UI, but different ideas to solve it. That's how you're training your brain to get into more ideation phase, create more ideas and everything. But that's how you can get more into problem solving mindset. Sorry, Shima, what was the second question for this?
Was that what are the key things that makes a case study good? Because most of them look like template based these days, right?
Exactly. One is get rid of that template. If your case study don't need a persona, don't put a persona. No one is going to read that persona. If it's just maybe you have done certain kind of research where you have used a Google form and asked your friends to fill that Google form and then putting some value, don't do that. People like have proper, like let's say even if it's a fictitious project, like at least it should solve a real world problem. Pick a problem which actually solves something, right? Don't just create a problem and try to solve it. And when a hiring manager asks like why you have made this decision, don't say that, okay, research said it, that research was done with my friends, so I made the decisions. Avoid these kind of things. Get rid of that format, get rid of those things. Take a real world problem, whatever is happening, try to solve it. Doesn't matter it's a digital product, physical product, whatever it is. But if it's actually a genuine thing, you have put those rational where why you have taken certain step. No one want to know why you have selected a color, blue or purple, right? But put those psychological things, how your design have, or your design, if it's not live, how your design will actually influence your user to take certain decision. It was designed through certain principles, certain design principles, which are already there, heuristic principles, right? So use more of a scientific way of justifying your design decisions and everything. If you don't have real users around you, then just getting a persona and a survey done.
Right. And normally, how much time do you spend on a case study? Like, I mean, how much time hiring recruiters spend, and then what about the design person? How much time they spend on a case study?
Recruiter frankly don't spend much time. They ask us like what us like, let's say it also depends on company to company. Few companies actually have recruiters who only recruit for design, but few have a generic ones who actually look for business unit, right? And that business unit might have engineers, product people, backend engineers, and designer as a part of it also. So usually what happens is they take a download from us what you need. Let's say you need someone from B2C experience, past 3 years minimum experience of B2C, B2B, whatever it is, right? The first thing is they vet through that. They might not go in detail about this. Then once they filter it and it comes to a hiring manager, that's where your portfolio plays an important role. Again, I think we start going through your resume or whatever, let's say if it's on a website or it's a PDF, whatever it is, that highlights a certain part that what you have made, certain kind of impact you have done, this is your experience and everything. And if that's a win-win, we go to the case study. We look at the case study, and that case study should be in detail. Case study, we spend a good amount of time on case study because the first kind of vetting goes through the high level projects and everything. But on case study, at least we spend like 15 to 20 minutes to 30 minutes, sometime more as well, right? Sometimes we divide those work between different designers as well. So we spend good amount of time in going through case studies.
Great. And also one interesting question by Harsh. So can I skip the take-home assignments round for a whiteboarding design thinking round? Like,
It depends on company to company. We don't do like this case study thing, take home assignment. We do design thinking. Yeah, I think depends on company to company. But yeah,
right.
that's a company process.
Right. And also one question was asked by Rohit, like for a entry-level person, junior person who are applying for job, is it been a advantageous thing if they are working closely with design engineers or they are good with, the coding part also, and they have worked with them? Rohit, is it right, the question that you were asking? It was
Yeah, I
good.
mean, it sounds about right. It's quite closely to what you're saying.
Yeah. So does it help
So
that person? Yeah.
it helps in one way as a like you are working cross-functionally, but your design decision should not get biased from your coding knowledge, right? Is this possible or is not possible? That's what I think matters most, right? You as a designer should work on something which is good for an end user, right? The experience you want to build, the design decisions you have to take, right? And then is where you have to start pushing your engineers to build that experience. So if you're okay to let that bias go away, where you know what is possible, what is not possible, and I should build or design certain way only, then I think it should be fine. But the moment this coding thing start coming in your design decisions, I think it becomes issues.
Right.
Okay, I mean, there's other thing that people have also like I've heard cases where maybe you design something and the engineer says that it's not possible. And I think previously also you mentioned right that like in Flipkart also they don't use AI tools. So let's say I have a design that I want to be worked on and I pass it on to my design engineer, and he says that it doesn't work, it might not work. What if like being able to work or being able to use AI and like no code tools, if I use that and show that to them, I mean, does that help? And like you said, right, in Flipkart, those things are banned, not allowed. So how do you guys play around that?
No, Rohit. So see, when someone says no, right, I'll try to answer this. No one thinks about personal skills about like if you are able to code it or not. I think the only reason when developer says no to certain kind of thing is the time on the sprint, right? Because in the end, everyone is creating for one goal. Everyone is building the product for one goal, which is let's say to let the user achieve their goals, right? From A to B. So everyone will try to do that. Only thing is, let's say if the product pushes that, no, you have to complete this in 1 week, and 1 week, that kind of experience is not possible. That's the only way where a developer might say that this experience will take me 2 weeks, or let's say 3 weeks or a month, but if I'm getting push from the leadership where I have to flush it in or I have to release it in 1 week, right? That's the only reason. I'm not sure if skill is an issue where when people don't want to or they don't know how to create that experience, that's why they say no. Because if that's an issue, then you can always question them, right? Let's say if the experience that you created is A, and they are saying, I can build B, then is where you should start doing those negotiation or discussions with your technical partners as a team that why A is not possible. Is it a tech issue? Is it whatever, let's say you are powering it through some backend data, that backend data is not there. You have to understand that what problem it is. If it's a skill issue, again, it's not your job as a designer, according to me. Again, this is according to me, to tell them that, see, I can do better job than you. Right? It's again, the end thing has to be done through a developer. A developer has to code it and push it into their main, whatever the code repo they are building. But then is where you should talk to a wider audience from tech, that how can we achieve this experience? This is the experience which is non-negotiable.
Okay,
So that's
yeah,
where your
yeah.
maturity and influencing skill comes in.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, understood.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, going through questions. Also, is it recommended that so Akshay asked that creating a separate presentation for the portfolio round, is that necessary, or you can directly present your portfolio? What's a better practice as per you?
Doesn't matter, Shivam. Sorry, whoever it is, but doesn't matter, I guess. Storytelling matters the most. If you create a different presentation, still can't tell in 30 to 40 minutes that what things you have done and how it has created an impact. That's also a no-no. Even if you are showing it through, let's say, a screens in your Figma files, walking us through that also works. The main thing is storytelling. That 30, 40 minutes, a person should get a context about your work, how your work has made that impact and everything. But there are no brownie points is what I'm saying for doing things extra and everything. Of course, when let's say something where a motion design has to be presented, of course, you create that design which show that transition or that animation, but it can be on a Figma, it can be on anything, Protopie, whatever it is, wherever you're built, but should tell the story well.
Great answer. So Vanshika asked that for graphic designers specifically, which tools do you think would be beneficial to learn ahead of time, and which areas of design should I advance to next? It's common knowledge graphic designers do not hone enough solely on graphic design. I think Prateek, you can answer, but I think it's not about right, it's more about the mindset and the product thinking and all, right? But yeah,
True.
go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. I think we talked about it also, but Anshika, not the right person might be. I have very less experience in graphic design. I'm not sure the graphic, when you're talking about graphics, your print media and everything. I haven't worked there much, but I think even marketing and where the most of the graphic designer works are moving to the digital platforms and everything, right? Like where you see all the billboards and everything. But overall, I think as a person, we should have that mindset of problem solving, right? Whenever you're building something, let's say even the graphic design, certain things that you've used, a happy family, a happy face, a house, a hand, whatever things, right? Have those rationale behind why you're using certain things. But again, I think I'm not the right person to answer about the graphic design things. Yeah.
Thank you for taking it up firstly, Prateek. And when we
Amshika.
say graphic design, I basically refer to brand identity. My forte
Got it.
is more likely brand identity design, like building systems around brand identity, and that is what I do. So, I feel for that, if you do not have certain amounts of years of experience, people don't really consider your expertise there. And I am leaning more towards visual design as an external field to get into, maybe more like web design. So I just want to ask you, apart from graphic design or in additional to GD, what streams do you think align better and I can create, like you said, a T-shaped skill set?
Understood. If you're planning to transition from being a graphic designer and a brand designer to a digital or a UI designer, I think you should start. And one thing is, I think, is start practicing those skills and start showcasing those skills, right? Start telling the world about how you have made certain decisions, right? And when I say world means put those in LinkedIn articles, Medium articles, build those case study, right? Even if it's a fictitious one, like how we talked about before, how certain things you're trying to solve through your design, why you have taken certain decision, or like those kind of things, start highlighting that better. I think that can help you get your first job as a UI designer or as a web designer. And then from there you can start growing.
So, if I'm being more clear, I'm not transitioning as per se, but I just want to add an additional skill set which makes my profile stronger. than other people. I still want my core to be GD.
Core to be brand designer, is it?
Yes.
Got it. Yeah, I think then the problem solving is the best thing, I think, which you can look for, the extra thing that you want to build, basically the T-shaped thing, because that goes in everywhere. I think almost every company are looking for smart people who can actually solve a real life problem.
Thank you so much, Prateek. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Great. Yeah. And also one thing, we are also doing next week another live session with Prayag. So Prayag is a design lead at Coinbase. He has worked at Spotify, Uber before. So I'm sharing the Luma link in the chat. It's tentatively next Saturday, 12 p.m. So you can register here. And this will be all about, whiteboarding session. Like he will share presentation and we can do Q&A also. So that might be also super helpful here. And if also Abhineet feels like sharing anything, thank you so much, Abhineet. I'm sharing. I'm seeing you are already giving out a good answer in the chat also. So feel free to, like, if you have also any suggestion, comment in general, you're most welcome to, speak up in case. And yeah, I think we are almost over time, more than 1 hour, 30 minutes. So I think it's great. Let's call it off. And we started with 200 people and we still have more than 100 people. So great retention, great session, Prateek. Thank you so much. And thank you so much, everyone. So Prateek, if anyone wants to reach out to you in any way, like how can they reach out to you?
Twitter, LinkedIn works best. Anything. LinkedIn, I might not be that active, but yeah, Twitter, I think is the best thing.
Yep, great. And also, if you don't mind, if you can switch on the camera, I would love to take a screenshot. Yeah, yeah. Right. And Abhineet, we can have a maybe session with you also in the coming weeks. I'll send you a DM after this.
All my knowledge is 2 years old. I think the world's changed.
So I'll just take a screenshot of this. Great. So 1, 2, 3. Awesome. So thank you so much again, Prateek, for your time. So much thanks from me, Paras and Astitwa. Yeah, anything else?
Shivam, just one thing. I think Satyam has a question since the beginning. I think we forgot to take his question. Satyam, I think you can ask it directly here.
Just last question. Okay, sure. Something you want to ask, or I can read for you?
Yeah, hi, hello. Thank you for taking it up. So I was asking in startup, it's very frequent that we they have time crunch and they have a lot of things to shape in very short time. So at times we just need to accept the fact that business people want this and this sort of process. So how do we communicate that in our case study first? And the other thing was, when we are switching a company, this is a second question, but I wanted to combine both of them here. So when we are switching a company and HM used to ask why you are switching so early, you're just 6 months in your career, you are just 1 year in your career, why you're switching? And we do have very solid reason that like in a small startup, it's very limited exposure, a very small design team. I wanted to learn a lot of things. I wanted to explore design system and all we don't follow here. How do we handle these conversations as well? Like it sometimes sounds very tricky that you can make a bad impression of yourself in HM. So how do you suggest to tackle these two things?
Satyam, I didn't get your first question. There was some feedback there, but the second question I'll say is the main thing here is like whatever you're thinking about, right? Say that. Like you don't have to frame anything when these kind of questions come in. There is, let's say you feel that your growth or your career aspirations are beyond what you're getting from your current company. That's where you're looking out. Why I'll say this is because after going to the next company, nothing should be surprise for you as well as for the hiring manager. Even if you're jumping it after 6 months, if that reason is value, right? You're not getting that much value, you're not getting that much growth, say that, right? If there is some other issues going on, everything, I think be transparent is the best thing that works in hiring manager rounds, right? And that's where they ask these questions. And that's where it will help you because let's say if you're expecting certain kind of growth, if you're expecting certain kind of things to learn from your next job, and if that opportunity is not there where a hiring manager is hiring for in through that position, right? Even he'll tell you that you might not get XYZ, whatever skills that you're looking for in the next company as well. So I think that saves both of you where you join a new company and then again think about that I joined it, that I'll be learning or working on design system. but these people don't even have a design system, or they have a design system where there's a different team who works on it. I might not get chance. I think that saves both of you.
It really helped me. And the first question was like, at times when we just accept the fact of either stakeholders or business heads that we just wanted to do this, like A or B. When we propose two solutions, they are like, don't go with the B, choose A for certain XYZ reason. We start.
Oh, got it.
To have a discussion that I don't agree with the fact, but they are like, if we don't have time to discuss all this, just go ahead with the A. So how to include that solution in the case study, since that is what is
See, so in the end, as far as it's Satyam, sorry, it is not about who is winning the conversation, right? It is about you're doing right thing for your end goal, whatever it is, right? Might be a business goal, might be something for your users that you're doing, right? So that should gain the weightage, and that's how your whole story should be, to convince someone that why you have taken the B solution rather than A. Right? And let's say business said like, no, B has to be done, then there has to be a proper rationale why A cannot be done. Right? Even because, see, again, because even if you go ahead, let's say A has to be done, there has to be certain pros and cons for that. And the same goes for B as well, right? So neither you are biased about that, no, I like A more, that's why I'm telling and pushing for A. But business like B more, that's why they are telling B. So have a proper rationale behind why certain things got prioritized, why certain things were taken in consideration and certain things were ignored, right?
I completely agree with the fact that both reasons have equal weightage, and since I'm little unexperienced in business, and also that there would be a chance that I don't understand their rationale. That could be the reason. But at times we don't have that space to discuss and agree. It's like just accept it. And if I'm not convinced with the option, how can I convince my interviewer about that rationale?
Correct. So Satyam, I think then you have to work on the first solving for a problem wherever you're working at, right? Get a seat at the table. Create that value where whatever you're speaking about holds that value. Then you're not doing what should have been done.
Okay, got it.
Satyam, so try to influence people more. Maybe start adding those values, right? Because in the end, if you're not shipping something, so I think solve that problem first. I think the second problem should not exist. Because if you'll say this, that business said, and that's why I did it, again, that will not fly well. And that should not happen also in real life.
Got it, understood.
Hi, Satyam.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
I had this experience when I was working in startups. So what you can do is, instead of just telling them that you suggesting the solutions, you should definitely go with some examples, like some competitive example who are doing that solution, and so then they will be able to understand. Just verbally discussing or just sharing wireframes and all does not, sometimes they don't understand that part. But when you show some examples of competitors and all, and existing features of other people, then they sometimes understand your point also.
Got it. I will do it. Thank you. Thank you so much.
So thank you so much. I think it's been over time, and I also want to be considered for Prateek time. It's a weekend, so it's great. Thank you so much, Prateek, again. It was a pleasure having you. Thank you everyone for joining. Yeah, I did some links in the chat. You can check out if it is helpful. And okay, so that's all. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Prateek, Vishavam.
For the session, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Prateek, for your time. Thank you so much, Shivam.